What is going on, guys? Naeem here. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. I'm super excited to be back here on YouTube with my new studio setup and recovering from my recent car accident that happened about 6 months ago. But I am fully recovered. We've got our brand new studio here and we are ready to make some amazing content for you guys. For those of you that are on our Discord, you know we've been updating you guys on a daily basis about the market. We've been calling every single point of this market in which to enter and exit. And now we are going to talk about what's happening right now as we approach the $10,000 Bitcoin level. And I'm also going to be going through one of these charts that I posted here on TradingView recently with Bitcoin around that $7,000 level. We posted this very bullish chart explaining why we were going to predict the fact that Bitcoin was going to start to head back up here. And this was at the 75.43 level. And you can see so far we've followed this chart exactly, now heading towards that $10,000 level. And we're going to take a look at altcoins alongside with Bitcoin dominance and take some questions from our live audience. And I am super excited to be here with you guys today, especially with this market back in the mode. And we're going to be looking at a lot of technical analysis and going through some of that today. I see we have JRM O'Brien, O'Razy, and Miami here. Somebody said, brother looking sharp. Thank you so much. We're also going to be giving away the Intelligent Investor to one of you guys watching this stream. So make sure to like this video and stay tuned, as this is one of my favorite books on investing, as you guys know, and I love to give back to each and every one of you guys. So stay tuned for that. But first and foremost, let's take a look at Bitcoin's chart, and then let's take a look at some altcoins. Let's look at the total cryptocurrency market cap and then Bitcoin dominance to just kind of talk a little bit about what's happening in the market and what my expectations are right now. But as you can see here, we have broken this huge trend here. We were in this downtrend for quite some time here since June of 2019. And you can see if we were to draw some resistance levels, this was the first resistance level that we broke. And then you can see there was these other resistance levels that were created here in which each and every one of these have broken, and we are now maintaining price levels above these major resistance levels. And this was a flag that we were watching for quite some time because this was really what we wanted to break out of. And if we look at gold, which has shown a lot of correlations to Bitcoin, you can see on the weekly chart, we've also broken out of its downtrend here, and we've went way and above these 50, 20, and 1 or 50, 200, and 100 week moving averages. And if you look at the daily moving averages, you can see we're also still above all of those moving averages. And now Bitcoin is just now starting to get above these moving averages. You can see here, if we were to pull up this Bitcoin to USDT chart here, we are now above all of these 150 and 200-day moving averages, which are extremely important when determining whether or not we're going to be able to maintain these prices. However, I want to talk a little bit about some of my fears here as well as how to best play these type of uptrends, because at the end of the day, you have to understand, if we look at what happened in 2018 during that bear market, you can see there was a point in time where we saw a very similar market pattern here, but we continued to see downside. You can see it was actually specifically here around April of 2018 where we bottomed out around that 6,300 level, and that was exactly where we bottomed out here. But then you can see we were only able to go up to that it was that $10,000 mark before dropping back down towards that $5,800 level, seeing a little bit of some upside, and then eventually we were in that accumulation zone where smart money came in, and then we initiated that recent bull trend. And so I want you to realize that just this right here, this specific market structure, is important to understand, that just because we are heading back towards that $10,000 level does not necessarily mean we're going to continue to see upside. However, there are some positive things happening in the market, and there are some things that will actually determine whether or not we will continue to see upside. But at this point, I want you guys to realize that it is extremely risky to enter long positions because we know Bitcoin, and after any sort of long period of uptrend, there could be a unexpected dump at any point. And so for those of you that did enter in around that $6,000, $7,000, and $8,000 level, congratulations, because now you guys are able to maintain those solid entry points. And for those of you that are in our Discord, you guys know in our signals, we posted entries at those levels, and it was specifically at that $7,400 level that we went ahead and initiated that long swing trade towards that $9,900 level where we expected that take profit zone. So for those of you that have been able to take profits, congratulations on those. And for those of you that want to continue holding, you at least have those solid entry points. But one thing I want you guys to realize here, and these are one of our signal chats here. Recently, we've had a lot of altcoins see extremely they've done extremely well. You can see 25% gains on some of these altcoins and some of our BitMEX signals, XRP here, 15% profits. And I want to talk a little bit about what's happening with altcoins because we are seeing some bullish news on altcoins. You can see here, if we look at Google searches for Cardano right now, up 133% in the past week. And so I think that's an important thing to realize because in the 2018 bull market where Bitcoin hit that $20,000 mark, if you looked at its Google trends, it was soaring through the roof. And when we see things like that happen to altcoins, that definitely raises some eyebrows. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that to happen. You can see here another article, Binance Futures is launching a perpetual contract for Cardano. So we're seeing more of a mature marketplace when it comes to trading these markets. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be completely honest here. I've had the chance to get behind the scenes with a lot of the co-founders and founders of some of these big altcoins. And I am still going to sit here and tell you at the end of the day, I just don't necessarily see a exuberant amount of use case in comparison of 2018 2019. However, our market has definitely dynamically changed since then. But when we look at Bitcoin transactions per day, you can see here we're still now maintaining over that 300,000 transactions per day level, but we're not necessarily seeing anything like the highs that we saw around that 400,000 transactions per day level when we saw Bitcoin at that 20,000 US dollar level. So I want you guys to realize that yes, we are currently in this uptrend. Yes, we are heading towards that $10,000 mark. But this has happened before, as it did in that 2018 market where we did hit that $6,300 bottom and then went back up to 10,000 before seeing even more downside. So do not sit here and assume that we're just going to see a Tesla 250% rise out of nowhere, because people are a lot smarter in this market. And so we have to realize that a part of this cycle, in my opinion, is allowing some of these altcoins to see some upside that we haven't seen in quite a while. If we pull up the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart here, you can see even Ethereum here now above these daily moving averages. But overall, it was pretty, it was pretty hurt during these last few months, if not the last 2 or 3 years. As you can see, price levels are still at all-time lows. So even though we are seeing some altcoins starting to see some upside, we are still overall at these lows. And so understanding the fact that Bitcoin dominance does play a huge part in this market, you can see we did break this key level and we are starting to see some downside and some sell-off and some sell volume here when it comes to Bitcoin dominance. And you can see on this volume to the right, there is very little volume in this area. So we do have that potential to start seeing that 60% Bitcoin dominance level. However, it's all going to be a matter of whether or not we're going to see liquidity flow into altcoins, or if we're going to see Bitcoin over that $10,000 mark. And so the biggest thing to watch here right now, in my opinion, for you guys, is to realize that if we are able to break above 10,000, we want to see a strong push above 10,000. If we do see a strong push above 10,000, then there is a very high potential that we will break this recent high of around $14,000. And the reason I say that is if we look at gold here, which Bitcoin is extremely correlated with, as you can see, when we see gold's first initial bull trend and then a huge correction and now another bull trend starting, it's very similar to how Bitcoin went to 20,000, saw that downtrend, and is now continuing its uptrend. But what's very interesting is gold right now is now above the levels of which it initially went to when Bitcoin first saw that $14,000 level. So if we were to sit here and assume that Bitcoin were to follow gold as it has been, well, that would make me assume that we would see Bitcoin over $14,000 soon, because you can see here gold did hit that high saw that downtrend and went right back above that recent high. And so if Bitcoin were to follow that, then that assumption would make us assume that we would break this recent high of 14,000 and start to see higher levels. And so I think it's an important thing to realize that yes, right now we are seeing some action in the market, but the best entries have already been played. And I think that was really around that $7,000 level. So for those of you that do get our signals, congratulations for staying up to date in the market with us. We're very precautious, our analysts and I, from sending those type of swing trades. But right now, in my opinion, we want to go ahead and wait to see whether or not we're going to copy this recent market structure that happened in 2018, or if we will see that continuation up to follow gold's continuation, where we do break that previous recent high. And so if we do see a break above 10,000 into the $11,000 or $12,000 level, for example, then our re-entry is most likely going to be on the pullback. And that, in my opinion, is going to allow us to get another solid entry to expect a continuation to the upside. But you have to understand, at the end of the day, a lot of my friends own hedge funds in the market. They invest a lot of money for investors in the cryptocurrency market. And just to be completely frank with you, it's not like we're seeing a ton of liquidity come into this market like we've never seen before. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, we're seeing a lot of investors kind of stay away from, so there are investors in the market, but, just being completely honest with you, having conversations over the last few weeks with some of the hedge fund managers that I know, a lot of them are closing down their funds due to regulatory issues. You have to understand that the majority of major markets are on spot trading, while Bitcoin's, major, volume is still coming from margins, and so it's not spot trading like traditional assets that we typically can rely on. And so, with hedge funds closing and things of that nature, it just kind of makes me a little bit weary of this bull trend. However, at the end of the day, I want to be a realist more than an optimist or a pessimist here. And so what I can say is we want to wait for that confirmation to realize that this isn't just another quick push up to allow to maybe clear shorts, or to allow a little bit more some upside and some positivity before seeing a further correction. And so one thing I really want you guys to realize here is we have not yet corrected back towards this moving average here. You can see we've got the 200-day moving average, which we recently broke above. And typically, if we break above a moving average, we also want to go ahead and bounce on that moving average as a healthy correction before seeing a continuation to the upside. And we have not yet seen that bounce. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that's a deal breaker, because if we do pull up gold, you can see here with gold, we have yet to correct to any of its moving averages. And so we're still in that strong bull trend, but you can see we're still in this parallel flag channel, and that we do have that opportunity right now to see some shorts come in and for us to now bounce on that 50-day, maybe that 100-day. It looks like the 200-day is a little bit too far for us to get to. At least we'll bounce on that 50 and that 100-day. And so when we look at Bitcoin's chart, knowing the fact that we have yet to correct to that level, I will sit here and tell you right now that the best thing right now to do is, if you don't have your current long entries into the market, is to hold off for confirmation, to know that we're not just going to see an unexpected dump, because we know Bitcoin can definitely see uptrends, but when it does see a downtrend, or it starts to see a sell-off, it typically happens in a very violent manner. And so we don't want to be in a position while that's occurring. And so one positive thing we see here is the 50-day moving average crossing above that 100-day moving average. That right there, it could be considered a minor golden cross. And you can also see here, if we continue to see that 50-day moving average see some upside, then we will go ahead and push above that 200-day moving average, creating another gold cross, where we've seen Bitcoin in the past see major liquidity and major upside from those type of movements. And so we're going to be taking some questions from our live audience here. I see we have Sean, Mario, Kevin, Mitch, EJJ on. Good to have you guys on the live stream. Let's talk about altcoins first and foremost. I know we've seen Cardano and Ethereum with some upside as of recent. And so let's take some questions from our live audience, and we will move forward with this live stream. And I am excited to be back with you guys with the new studio setup here. So let's go ahead and see what we've got here. Let's see. Malik says still altcoins risky. Break the matrix. This guy's just guessing. He missed his entry and now wants the prices to go down. I actually wouldn't say that. If you guys follow us on TradingView, we actually called the bottom and the top of this. I wouldn't say the top yet because we haven't hit the top, but you can see if we pull up our TradingView chart, we were initially short here around that. What was it? Let's see here, that $9,100 level where we eventually did correct down exactly towards our target. So we predicted that short, and then we also predicted the bottom here where we went long around 7,500. You can see now we're at that $9,800 level. So for those of you, or specifically, we've got here break the matrix, trying to throw some jabs here at us. Obviously, for those of you that do keep up with our TradingView and our Discord, you guys know that we are extremely accurate with our calls. Obviously, nothing is 100%, but at the end of the day, when you have multiple analysts involved, it's a lot easier to have a better idea of what's happening. Garrett Hullett said, big money here. JK, thanks for all you do, buddy. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate you here. Tyrell says, what about Matic? So a lot of people are talking about Atom. A lot of people are talking about Matic. We've went ahead and sent out crypto signals and calls for some of these coins. But at the end of the day, we want to realize that, yes, we're seeing Bitcoin dominance see some sell-off, but it's nothing major in comparison to how much it's taken over in this market. You can see we have this huge uptrend and we're just now seeing a correction. We just started to hit that 50-week moving average. And so understand that that 50-week moving average could hold and we could see a push back up with Bitcoin. And so if I were to assume what were to happen right now in this market, it would really be watching Bitcoin to see whether or not we are able to go and break above 10,000 and really see some volume come in for us to go ahead and continue to the upside, because you can see this bottom in 2018 still during the bear market. We hit that $6,300 bottom exactly where we hit recently, and then we went right back to 10,000 before seeing that downside. And so we are still very cautious right now when we're trying to enter new positions to this market, understanding the fact that there is that potential resistance area here, and you can see very little volume above where we're currently at. And so that could certainly change. However, I would really like to see us correct down to that 200-day moving average here around that 88.55 level and see what could occur there, whether we bounce with some strong volume or whether or not we consolidate around that area. However, that may or may not happen, because when we look at gold, as I had mentioned earlier, gold went right through all of its moving averages. And so we could assume that to occur as well with Bitcoin. Now, understand that Bitcoin is very different than gold fundamentally, but there are a lot of similarities when it comes to being a storage of value. So let's see here. Tyler says, your trading group is insanely accurate. Thank you so much. We've definitely put a lot of time towards making that the best possible place for you guys to get your information in this market when it comes to trading here. We recently added an ETF analyst for those of you trading your retirement accounts and for those of you that are trading traditional markets, and he's done very well. I think he's only posted 2 ETF trades so far, and they were both over 7% profits, and so that was awesome. Staff Sergeant of Marines says, where do you see our beloved XRP headed medium to long term this year? At the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have this bullish bias right now for altcoins as much as other people do, because as much as we want to say that, yes, we're seeing some upside right now, you can see there's all this overhead resistance. We've got that 50-week moving average here right above XRP. This is where we've previously bounced in the past, Staff Sergeant. So I'm still going to be very cautious about altcoins. I don't mind trading altcoins, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be a huge altcoin cycle where we're going to see altcoins just shoot to the moon like they did before, because investors are smarter right now. And as I've mentioned before, I have the opportunity to get around a lot of the bigger players in this market that are managing funds and are actually trading large amounts of volume. And what I'll tell you right now is some of them are shutting down their funds. Some of them, have talked to me about, just the lesser interest of investors right now in the market. But I think Bitcoin is still going to be king overall, and I just don't expect us to see a major correction with Bitcoin dominance. However, it doesn't hurt for us to see some of these altcoins right now, see some upside before we get the confirmation that Bitcoin is indeed back in a bull trend. And that's only going to happen if we can break that $10,000 level, because once again, this market structure is very similar to what we saw here in April of 2018, where we bottomed out at 6,300. And since we bottomed out at 6,300 at that exact same level, you can see it's almost exactly there, then we can also assume that we may top out exactly where we initially topped out in that pattern. But we just need to see that strong volume come in for us to confirm that we are still in this bullish trend. But at the end of the day, if you were to ask me, hey, Naeem, what do you think is going to happen in the short term, maybe in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I think Bitcoin will maintain these higher levels. I don't think we'll correct below the $8,500 or $8,800 level, below that 200-day moving average. And if so, ideally, what I'd like to see is a consolidation at that 10,000 to that 8,850 level, allowing more altcoins to see upside. Because if you've been watching this market, if you've been trading this market, you'll realize that a lot of what's been happening with Bitcoin has been happening to allow altcoins to see some upside. But when we look at coin market cap and we look at the dominance here, you can see it's just nothing special happening right now. As much as people want to say that altcoins are in a bull cycle, you can see we've seen Bitcoin consolidate at its dominance level for some time in the past before seeing a continuation up. And right now we're still in that consolidation period. So yes, we are breaking minor trends to the downside when it comes to Bitcoin dominance. However, I don't think it's anything to, go home and tell mom about. At the end of the day, yes, there are some positive headlines about altcoins. You can see here, Ethereum miners hoarding ETH approaches an all-time high. I think a big reason for that is because a lot of these miners were mining Ethereum when it was unprofitable, and now that we're starting to see some upside, they're hoping that they could eventually exit out with some significant profit. Now, yes, we have the Bitcoin halving occurring soon and things of that nature, and that's why we posted that chart on our trading view talking about the start of this bull trend, or at least short-term bull trend. And of course, so far, that's been very, very accurate. And so, ideally, what I'd like to see is for this to occur. We all want Bitcoin to be at 140,000 US dollars, right? If you guys want Bitcoin at 140,000 US dollars, say I in the chat. I'm sure everyone would love to see that, but we just have to be realists here and realize that that's a very, very it's a very high goal, and for that to happen, it would really be a miracle. And so of course, if it does happen, we will keep you guys up to date with that. But following this analysis that I did create, it's certainly a possibility, because no one would have predicted Bitcoin at that 20,000 US dollar mark. So how could we sit here and say that Bitcoin can't go to 140,000 US dollars? And so, of course, this chart here isn't going to, be the most, accurate long term, but it definitely called out the bottom temporarily. But like I said, now that we've done further analysis, we've realized there are still patterns here that could form that potentially could see some downside. Now, the one thing I will say about this bull market as of recent is I'm really liking these short-term pushes down, back up, and then pushing down and then back up. It's not just something like what happened here in October of 2019, where we just saw a very strong push up. We're seeing a lot more of a healthier uptrend. It's funny. I was with Brock Pierce. If you guys know Brock Pierce, he was the founder of EOS, and he had a big involvement in a lot of the major projects. And he actually mentioned to me in a private gathering. I asked him where does he see the market going, and this was around the time that Bitcoin was still in its downtrend. It was probably around December of 2019, and he said this to me. He said, "Well, one thing I'll tell you is winter is coming to an end, and summer is coming." But this time, when summer comes, it's going to be a lot more natural than it was in 2018. And what I think he meant by that, as I look back in hindsight, is the fact that we're not just going to see liquidity flow into this market and an absurd, exuberant uptrend. We're going to see corrections to moving averages. We're going to see patterns form. We're going to see previous patterns follow future patterns, and I think that's exactly what we've recently seen. And the reason I say that is you can see these resistance levels on the daily. They did act as resistance. You can see here it acted as a support, as it should. And so it's following traditional technical analysis guidelines, and therefore I think that as we continue to watch the market and see if we can break past that $10,000 mark, I think it's going to be a very, very beautiful market to trade, even if we start to go down, because now we can see that there are some strong levels of support, especially with these moving averages below the price action that we're currently at right now. And so let's see here. John Wick said me not. Will I said I. Kespo said I for show. Let's see. Hey, I am Vazu said, where have you been? It's been quite the process. I got into a car accident about 6 to 7 months ago now. I finally had all of my surgeries complete. And so I am back, and I currently have a new office set up, so I'm excited to get back on these streams. I want to give away this book here before we wrap up this live stream, because I do have a meeting with one of my buddies here real soon. He actually owns a hedge fund. He's the one closing his down at the end of this year. But the reason he's closing his down is because of regulatory issues. But I do want to give this book to one of you guys here. So make sure to like this video. But my question for you guys is, do you guys want to see Bitcoin over 10,000 in the next week, or would you rather see Bitcoin correct and then continue its uptrend? And I'd love to hear that from you guys, because I think that's a big question that I'm seeing a lot of people ask right now, because some people just doubted Bitcoin recently and they didn't get their entries in, and now they're kind of sitting on the sideline waiting to get an entry. And I'd love to see the bias that we have here. And I'm going to be giving away this book to one of you guys on the live chat, and then we'll answer a couple more questions here. And one other thing I want you guys to kind of realize here is, if we look at this total cryptocurrency market cap here, and we see all of these other cryptocurrencies and how they're performing, you can see here against Bitcoin, we're seeing some of these altcoins. When we look at in the last 24 hours, Bitcoin SV 14% outperforming Bitcoin, Litecoin 3% outperforming Bitcoin, EOS 3% outperforming Bitcoin. A lot of these altcoins are doing well against Bitcoin. However, understand that we are heading and we're heading towards that resistance for Bitcoin, and so there's a lot of uncertainty of whether or not Bitcoin will continue the uptrend or see a potential correction down. And so be very cautious right now until we have that confirmation. It's not going to take too long for us to receive that confirmation, as we really only need to wait and see if we can cross this previous level of around that pretty much exactly at 10,000. For us to determine if we will see continued upside. And I'm going to sit here and be quite frank with you. If we break 10,000 and we do it with volume, I will expect us to go beyond 14,000 and break this recent high that we saw. And then from there, we can determine whether or not we're going to continue and push past 20,000. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. And the reason being is gold obviously has not yet broken its all-time high. And so since we've been following gold's pattern quite accurately, then I would wait to see if gold can start to see a push back up for us to then determine whether or not we're going to see Bitcoin at new all-time highs. But for the short term, I think we should definitely be cautious, just knowing the fact that we've seen this exact pattern happen in the past, and we have yet to correct towards these moving averages. We haven't bounced on any moving average since we broke through these moving averages. And so we want to be very careful before entering into new long positions. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. And let's see who wins the book here. JRM Bryan says over 10,000. Swedish Trucking says correct first. Sohab says over 10. Will says correct, then continue. Malik says over 10. Prokar says it is correcting. So it seems like we've got pretty much a 50-50 split here between people that want it to correct and with people that want it over 10,000. And so let's go ahead and give this book away. Swedish Trucking. You can go ahead and win this book. Send me a message on Discord, and I will go ahead and get your information and send you out The Intelligent Investor, which is an amazing book about understanding how to invest in the long term. And it also talks a lot about trading. This is Warren Buffett's favorite book on investing. If you guys have heard his interviews, he talks about The Intelligent Investor, Warren Buffett being one of the most successful hedge fund managers here. So Tyler says, is institutional interest in BTC increasing? As I've said before, Tyrell. Now, obviously, I don't know every single institution in the market, but I can tell you from just understanding and having conversations with hedge fund managers that manage a lot of funds and volume in this market. I haven't heard the best news as of recent, and I'm not trying to put bad news out there. I'm just being real and honest with you. I just had two friends recently that have hedge funds. One of them stepping away and one of them shutting down. Another buddy of mine who's still in his hedge fund, he's doing very well. He's had a very optimistic view of Bitcoin. He's one of those managers that say, "Oh, the halving is coming up. We'll be at 140,000 in the next 5-10 years." But obviously, there's always those extremists, and I don't like to always be an extremist. I'd rather be a realist here. And so I'm just not getting messages from hedge fund managers saying, "Oh, we just got a $10 million investment." And in reality, if we're going to see institutional interest, we're going to see some sharp levels of volume come in. And right now, you can see we do have some good volume here. But at the end of the day, we're still in this market structure that we previously were in that downtrend in 2018. And so there's that potential that we could see that downside here. So O'Razy says, isn't Fidelity getting into the market? Potentially. Prokhar says, I need that book. We'll do some more giveaways here. We might give away another book here. Crespo says, tax season as well. Anyone believe in the sell-off of tax season? Potentially. Prokhar says, please publish the chart. All of the charts that we publish are on our TradingView. The link is in the description below for those of you that want to check out our TradingView. But if you guys are in our Discord, that's where we really post our daily market updates. That's where I've been over the last few months, posting on a daily basis. And so I've been there with each and every one of you guys, ensuring that you guys get the best updates here. Let's see. Crespo says, hoping for that correction. Stopped out by these damn bots. Need a new entry. Well, you got to understand, there are a lot of bots in this market, but you really want to understand your trading style before trading any market. So there's different types of styles: day trading, swing trading, long-term investing. And so you have to be careful there. Let's see. Raya says, we saw plenty of major pullbacks in the last bull market of 2017. I wouldn't say so. If you look at the last bull market of 2017, you can see we saw these strong pushes up. If we go to the daily chart, you can see there are very, very, very few pullbacks from when we broke past that $7,000 level. You can see we went straight up on a daily basis. We were seeing these big candlesticks up, big candlesticks up. We did see this quick sell-off here, but that quickly turned into a candle back up, and then you can see it pushed right through these big levels, and then this is really around that $16,000 level where we started to see some correction before topping out at 20,000. So this, in my opinion, is not that significant of a push up as we saw in 2017. It's actually very similar to what happened here, where you can see the candles and how everything is forming the bottom, and so far the top are exactly the same as the continuation of the downtrend. And so I think we want to be a little bit careful right now and realize that the best entries, yes, they were at that $7,000, $8,000 level, but right now we have to sit on the side, because sometimes it's better to sit on the side because capital preservation is important, and realize that we want to confirm that we're going to see that continuation up. And then if that does happen, then we can assume that $14,000 level. And I think it'll be pretty clear in a very short amount of time. And so I'm glad that I'm back with you guys here, because I'm going to be able to follow this, whether it goes up or down. We'll have a lot more consistent content now that this office is set up, and I'm ready to be here for you guys. So Tyrell says, is it possible that the halving has already been priced in? What are your sentiments about the halving and its potential effect? Recently, Google Trends showed that there were a lot of people searching, about the halving, and I think really the ones that are preaching that are the ones that are managing large amount of funds in this market. That's really their go-to play when it comes to raising capital for their funds. They talk about what's happening with the halving and what's happened in the past. And when we look at the long-term analysis that I posted on TradingView here, I did talk about the halving being that potential bullish, fundamental factor to see upside in the market. But at the end of the day, are we going to sit here and assume that we'll see the new high of 140,000? that it's going to take some time for us to confirm that. We still want to push past 10,000. Once we push past 10,000, we want to see consolidations over 10,000. We want to eventually see price levels over 14,000. If that happens, then now we know that it's really correlating with gold's market structure, and that we can go ahead and assume that what gold does is what Bitcoin will also do, or vice versa, because it does switch back and forth. It's not always gold making a move first. Sometimes it's Bitcoin making a move first and then gold following, or vice versa. And so, that definitely doesn't just stay stagnant. It's a very dynamic correlation. And so somebody says, I need that book. Yeah, I don't mind doing another book giveaway if you guys want. Just make sure you like the video, and I'll ask another question here, and then as long as you guys participate, we'll give away another intelligent investor before the end of this live stream. I know I gave that initial book out a little bit early here, but make sure you hit me up on Discord if you do win the book. I think the initial winner was who was it? Swedish, I believe. I don't remember who we chose, but anyways, any other questions here? I do want to address any questions. Let's pull up an ETH BTC chart here and talk about if Ethereum will continue to see upside. When we look at Ethereum's weekly chart, you can see we're still at these very low levels, and we are approaching that 50-week moving average. Now, what I can definitely tell you is I think we will bounce on that 50-week. So if we were to assume any more upside, you can see we're currently around that 22511 Satoshi area, and I think that we could certainly see that 2.4 million Satoshi level. And I think that would be a potential area for us to start seeing a correction, because you can see that's also previous support level here, and that's exactly where that 50-week moving average is. So I think there's still going to be some upside for altcoins. When we look at Bitcoin dominance and we pull up this weekly chart, we did bounce on that 50-week moving average, but we did pierce through, and so there's still potential for us to see a little bit more downside here when it comes to Bitcoin dominance. We're certainly seeing a strong sell-off with Bitcoin dominance, and so we want to be careful here when it comes to altcoins, but at the end of the day, it does look like we'll start to still see a cycle through. Here's a chart here. This is going to be interesting. When we look at total cryptocurrency market cap, so when we look here, it's quite the opposite of what we saw with Bitcoin dominance, right? We're seeing some strong buy volume come in, and you can see we broke this trend. We are continuing to the upside, but when we look at moving averages, you can see here we've got this 50-week, and that 50-week just crossed above that 100-week moving average. And so that is a very bullish crossover. It's not a golden cross, precisely, because a golden cross would be the 50-week and the 200-week, but it is very bullish. And one thing I will point out here is we did break a major resistance of 274 billion when it comes to market cap, because you can see that right here was the previous resistance here, but we broke right through that. And so when it comes to the total cryptocurrency market cap, it does look like we are going to see a continuation to the upside. And in that manner, it's really assuming whether or not Bitcoin is going to be the one to go above 10,000, or if we're going to continue to see these altcoins perform and outperform Bitcoin. You can see LTC 2.7% outperforming Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. I think what we'll see is a continuation in the total cryptocurrency market cap increase. We will see altcoins continue to outperform Bitcoin. And just to be honest with you, I think we'll stay below the 10,000 for a little bit before confirming what's going to happen next. And the reason I say that is I think that before we go to beyond 10,000, it seems like the whales are really wanting to allow some of these altcoins to gain some traction. A lot of people got into these altcoins and lost a lot of money, and so I think that like Brock Pierce told me around December of last year, I think this next phase is going to be a lot more lenient. It's going to be a lot more predictable, and I think that's important in any sort of market that's maturing, any market that's trying to get through regulatory pressure. And I think that because of that, we will see some altcoins see some upside. Like I said, Cardano's seeing search volume surge over the last few weeks. And so things like that are bullish for altcoins. So I think in the short term, you can see if we look at our signals, we've had a lot of gains with altcoins as of recent. We've been a little bit more lenient as we're approaching that $10,000 level. But at the end of the day, we have seen some really good profits here. Bitcoin diamond here. We saw a nice trade, 4% there. One BTC, 11% profits. EOS H20, 28% profits last Thursday. So, we saw some great volume come in over the last few weeks for altcoins. And I think it'll continue being the fact that we are breaking these resistance levels here. The next level of resistance that we want to watch here is this previous resistance here of around that $292 billion market cap. And that's approaching that big even of $300 billion. You can see that's where we saw resistance in the past before pushed down, and we wicked a little bit above that to the $315 billion mark. But we've still got all of these levels of overhead resistance that we have to pay mind to, because we have to realize that things just don't continue to go up like Tesla did recently, especially when people are more aware of this market. This isn't Tesla, this is the cryptocurrency market that people are becoming more familiar with, and so it's very different than it was in 2017. So, when we look at total cryptocurrency market cap, we are breaking some highs. So that to me makes me assume that we will continue to see these altcoins perform well. So we pull up a coin like let's pull up Litecoin here to Bitcoin. You can see far and away from that 50-week moving average, still has a lot of room to go. For us to hit that level here. I think this is really where we'll start to see a little bit more resistance when it comes to Litecoin. We pull up like a daily chart here. You can see, yes, we are above all these daily moving averages, but that's a good thing when it comes to assuming that we're going to see a continuation up. We broke these major levels of resistance, and we've got some volume here, approaching, but we're still in this area of lower volume, which typically means continuation of the current trend. And so right now you can see the current trend is up. We're in that area of lower volume. So I can sit here and assume that we'll see a continuation up when it comes to Litecoin to Bitcoin. And so, ideally, this is what I would like to see. If you were to say, hey, Naeem, what do you want to see in this market to assume a healthy continuation overall? It's going to be for Bitcoin to stay below 10,000 and for us to see altcoins see some of the limelight. I want to see some altcoins grow. I want to see Litecoin and Ethereum do well. There's no reason they shouldn't. At the end of the day, if Bitcoin just pushes past 10,000 and people realize, okay, it's not going to copy that initial top of 10,000, it's going to continue up, then people know it's going to go to 14,000, and we're going to see dominance just go right back towards Bitcoin. I just don't think that's the best thing for the overall market. We want to see some of these projects survive. We don't want to just see all of them die off. We want to see like Cardano possibly continue to see upside. We want to see investor confidence. It's just now that Binance is launching future and perpetual contracts for Cardano. And so, I think there's still a lot of, health that needs to be recovered in the altcoin market. I'm hoping that we see that. So far it's done very well, and we've seen, Bitcoin dominance finally see that correction down, breaking these levels of support. But it's just a matter of how much more is it going to see downside. You can see, as we assumed Ethereum to continue to the upside because there was low volume and a continuation of the current trend. If we look at Bitcoin, you can see here with dominance, it's currently in this low volume area and its current trend is down. And so if we were to assume just based on volume where we're going to head, we could sit here and say maybe 60% Bitcoin dominance is a target. And you can see that was a previous resistance, and that could eventually become that previous support for us. And you can see we did see a little bit of bear and bull, bullish pressure fighting here around that 60% dominance in the past. And so that could be an area for us to head down towards. And if Bitcoin dominance continues to drop, total cryptocurrency market cap continues to rise, then what that means is we're going to see Bitcoin consolidate between that $9,000, maybe $8,800 level and $10,000. And then some of these altcoins are going to see a continuation of outperforming Bitcoin. And so, it's still back and forth. You can see Ethereum down 1% over the last 24 hours. But when we look at overall on the daily chart, it's done very well over the last few days since the start of this year. Since January, we've seen that continuation up, but we are now above all these moving averages. Another reason I can sit here and assume that altcoins will see a continuation is we're potentially going to be seeing all these crossovers here. You've got that 50-day moving average now approaching that territory of the 100 and 200 day. And as soon as that goes beyond that, that's a golden cross. And so that could allow Ethereum to really shoot up there. And so we're going to be watching the total cryptocurrency market cap and altcoins specifically over the next few weeks when it comes to those of you in our Discord chat. That, for those of you that are in our premium group that get all of our BitMEX crypto signals, those are ones that we're going to watch very, very diligently. As you can see in the last few weeks, we've had very good performance when it comes to our trades there, hitting very few stops. I don't think we've hit any. We've only hit stops when it comes to Forex. I think we hit one XBT. BitMEX stop with Bitcoin, but I think that was after 10 to 15 successful trades. Really, we're going to be watching to see whether or not these altcoins are going to see continuations, and therefore, if that does occur, then Bitcoin may just consolidate at these levels before seeing that break towards 10. Because once again, as soon as we break 10,000, everything goes crazy. People start talking about Bitcoin. There starts to be headlines all over the news. Everyone's thinking it's going to continue up, and that's when we start to see all of the people start taking out mortgages and refinancing their homes and putting all of their money back into Bitcoin. And then we don't want that to happen. And according to Brock Pierce, from what he told me at the end of last year, he said summer's coming, and obviously we've seen summer come, but he said it's going to be a lot more lenient, it's going to be a lot more proper, and we're going to really follow patterns as we should, when it comes to a maturing market that we want to see regulatory pressure released from, and we want to see more regulations because it's really harming a lot of these funds, and the funds fuel the market in some aspects, because these funds are managing millions of dollars. And when I have a buddy of mine, I'm meeting with him tonight. I was with him last week, and he said, "Yeah, I'm closing down my fund." That's just not the best news when it comes to saying that, oh, we're in a new bull trend, we're going to see new highs. It makes me kind of take a step back and try to look at the bigger picture here. And it looks to me that the bigger picture is that we're going to see some altcoins see some upside before Bitcoin does. And that could all change if Bitcoin breaks 10,000, because once again, for those of you that are just now tuning into our live stream, this is the pattern that we're watching right here. It's the exact area that we bottomed out first, and it's exactly where we're finding that resistance and that bear and bull fight at that $10,000 level. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that we've found major resistance at this level yet, because we have yet to hit 10,000. But as soon as we do, it's going to be an ultimatum, and it's going to allow us to realize what's going to happen in this market. So let's take a couple more questions from our live audience here, and then we will give away this book for those of you watching here live. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you guys support the stream and want more of this content, because I have the office set up now. I know, we've had a rough past couple of months, but I got into a car accident. I literally lost one of my teeth, and I just had to go through surgeries, and it was just a painful period of time. But it was the best trading period for me ever, as a matter of fact. And for those of you getting the signals, you guys know that. We've been posting some amazing trades. So sometimes having those breaks and then being able to focus on what I enjoy most, which is trading financial markets that I've been doing for 10 years, sometimes that's a good thing. And I think it was a great thing for me. But I'm ready to bring this content back to you guys. I have a lot to talk to you guys about. I've got a lot of engagements and speaking arenas that I'm going to be a part of here over the next few weeks. And so I'm going to be getting around a lot of these bigger hitters in the market and being able to bring you guys some of the news that you're just not going to find, on a news site. And so Crespo Chronicle says Ethereum is the leading indicator. I wouldn't say it's the leading indicator here. So Tyrell says, how do you feel the upcoming recession will affect Bitcoin's price? Well, when we look at traditional markets, I mean, we can't sit here and say there's an upcoming recession. If we look at the S&P 500 here, just forming a recent new high yesterday, we're still we're still seeing that continuation up, even with Chinese markets seeing a lot of uncertainty with the coronavirus, and seeing some of the worst sell-offs since October. The American markets are doing very well, and I think Trump is very, very prideful of what he's done to the U.S. economy, and he should rightfully be so, because at the end of the day, he's done very well with our economy. As much as we can get into politics, Our economy is thriving right now. People are making more money they've ever made before when it comes to stock markets. And we look at, companies like Tesla, some of these more innovative companies, you can see, almost outperform Bitcoin, So you can see we saw almost 250% gains over a very short amount of time. You can see it broke here. We saw over 225% gains here just since October of 2019. With a traditional stock like Tesla. And so, when you see things like that in our market, I'm not going to sit here and assume that we're going to see a recession here anytime soon, because there's just no confirmation of it yet. And once again, if Trump has another 4 years, I mean, if we can only assume that he's going to continue what he's been doing, then we can assume that markets will continue to see upside. And to be honest with you, it's very interesting. I'm glad you asked this question, Crespo, because think about this. China. Who's U.S.'s biggest competitor? I mean, let's ask the live audience. I kind of just mentioned it and gave you guys the answer, but I want to hear from you guys. Whoever answers this correctly will win this book. How about that? Well, obviously we'll choose somebody. But who's China's biggest economic competitor? Quote unquote, that we know of right now. What's the U.S.'s biggest competitor, right? Prakar says China. You're the one that said you wanted a book earlier. Well, go ahead. You win the book. China, right? Well, guess what? The coronavirus comes out, right? Chinese markets tumble. Well, and people don't think that's a big deal, but what happened in 2008 with the swine flu in the U.S. economy? There was a recession, a big recession, one of the worst recessions ever after, the swine flu, right? So, you got to understand that the health is always going to be the number one priority for any country, any government, because the health of your people and your citizens is really, what makes people want to be in that country, right? If you've got an unhealthy country and you're going to have virus, like if you look at what's happening in China, it's sad. I mean, Lockheed Martin pulling out of a conference in Japan in fear of the coronavirus, like all these factories shutting down. I saw a joke the other day. It said, don't pop your bubble wrap in your Amazon packages because the air is from China." You know what I'm saying? So with our leading competitor stumbling upon this roadblock, well, guess what? The U.S. is back on top. The U.S. is not just back on top, but the U.S. economy is the most optimistic economy again, and that's with it seeing all-time highs yesterday, right? So not only is it thriving currently, the future is only looking brighter, and so I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump is the best president. I'm not going to get into politics here, but what I will say is he's obviously done a very good job with our economy. If he has another 4 years, which most presidents do get reelected, I'm expecting a continuation in our economic outlook. And a lot of we talked about this last year. Every 10 to 12 years there's a correction in any market, right? That's what Ray Dalio says, owner of Bridgewater Associates, the largest hedge fund in the world. Every 10 to 12 years is a correction. Well, maybe our market was just never at its full potential with the previous presidents that were in office. Maybe Trump is unlocking a part of our market that has never been unlocked before, and you see that happening with new trade deals. You see that with some of his economic policies that he's putting into place. And so our economy is looking better than ever, and with our economy doing so well, for Bitcoin, that I wouldn't say that's necessarily the best thing in the world, because Bitcoin is meant to be a storage of value. But here's the interesting thing about Bitcoin: it's not based upon the American economy. It's a worldwide thing. It's not just the US that utilizes Bitcoin. So maybe because China's going through some turmoil, we'll see Bitcoin do well as a storage of value, right? So, understand that there's a lot of dynamics in play here. And the best thing we can do is follow previous patterns. And right now, we're currently following the pattern that we followed in the 2018 bear market, where we bottomed at the exact level. You can see right here, exact level we bottomed out here. And then we saw this push up, very similar that we saw this push up. And over here, we corrected at 10,000, back down even below the previous low. And so for those of you that haven't gotten your position in Bitcoin, there's a possibility that could happen, right? If Bitcoin consolidates around this area and we start to see altcoins see some levels of dominance increase, and we start to see altcoins rise up, that doesn't necessarily mean the USD value is going to rise up, because it could just be the value of the altcoin against Bitcoin, which is a lot more of an accurate indicator of the altcoin's value than looking at the altcoin versus the US dollar. But interestingly enough, if we pull up like an ETH USD chart, you can see here still looking very well in comparison to how Bitcoin is looking, where over the last few months since December of 2019, we've seen continuation of an uptrend, breaking that 50-week moving average, heading towards that next moving average here, that 100-week moving average. And so when we look at the daily moving averages above all moving averages, and you can see crossover here. So now we've got a crossover about to happen, a golden cross, and then if that 50-week moving average in red continues up, then we'll cross over that green, which is the 200-day, and then that 200-day, that's an official golden cross, which is a very bullish indicator. And so we could quite well see a bull market for Ethereum and not Bitcoin if we continue to see dominance drop. And so we have to be very careful there. But understand here, we're still at an ultimatum point. So there's a lot of things in the market right now that are uncertain, and that wasn't like that 2 weeks ago, right? Matter of fact, 4 or 5, 6 weeks ago, we were posting Bitcoin longs in our Signal group on a almost like a daily basis. Literally, if we go to the Signal chat, we were posting entry here, entry here, entry here. Well, guess what? All of those have hit profit, but we're not doing that right now. So the uncertainty is not something that's been around for the last few weeks. We're just pretty uncertain right now this week, and maybe we'll be uncertain next week, but we're going to get an answer here real soon. Another part of the market right now that's quite uncertain is the 50-week moving average here with Bitcoin dominance. We wicked through it, which I wouldn't say is a good sign. The fact that we did wick through it, I'm going to assume that, just based on my 10 years of trading experience, understanding how these moving averages work, this type of sell volume, we're going to continue to see Bitcoin dominance drop. That's what I'm assuming. But at the end of the day, short term, could we see a push back up before seeing the push back down? Very possible. I just don't see that happening, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin, we don't want over 10,000 if we want altcoins to continue to perform as they are, because if Bitcoin goes above 10,000, it's going to break a major resistance, and then it's just going to continue to see upside. That's when FOMO comes in, and that's when dominance will just continue to go back up for Bitcoin. So another option here is we see the dominance level of Bitcoin possibly see a little bit more of a rise, but we just don't necessarily see price levels, because dominance doesn't mean price levels go up. Those are two different things. But overall, I don't want to confuse you guys. Let's keep it simple. For those of you that just tuned into the live stream, the fact of the matter is Bitcoin dominance is looking very bearish. We're in this area of low volume, and typically where there's low volume, as you can see here on the right, we're going to see a continuation of the current trend, which for Bitcoin dominance is down. You can see that confirmation with high sell volume, and then the next point of higher volume is around that 60% dominance mark. So therefore, overall, we're expecting Bitcoin dominance to drop and for altcoins to continue to perform very well against Bitcoin as we come to the ultimatum of whether or not Bitcoin is going to break through that $10,000 major resistance. And I say it's a major resistance because of the fact that we saw that previous market structure bottom out at the exact level that we bottomed out this time around, and therefore we can only assume that we're going to continue to see a copy here of what happens. Because when it comes to trading, there's three things that are the most important, right? It's market structure, price action, and the overall trend, right? Overall trend right now is up. Price action is quite well, to be frank with you, when it comes to Bitcoin. But when it comes to market structure, we did find a huge resistance at that $10,000 level when we first bottomed out at 63. And so if that occurs again, there's that potential that we see that correction. Now, do I think we'll continue to see downside below? Probably not, because once again, this is an uptrend in comparison of the downtrend. And the reason I say that is we did bottom out at 3,200 and we went up. And yes, this could be seen as a bear market, but it really isn't, since we're continuing to go up. And so I would assume overall trend is up. And so maybe we correct down to where this previous market structure is, maybe allowing ourselves to even get back down to that 200-day, maybe even the 100-day moving average before seeing some upside. So, overall, things are very bullish. However, if you were to say, is there a good entry right now in the market for Bitcoin? I would say there's probably better entries for altcoins lying around that a lot of you may be overlooking in comparison to Bitcoin right now. And so hopefully that helps. So Alexander Wall says, "You're back." I am. I've got my new office here set up. By the way, what do you guys think about the audio quality? Is it good? Put a good or a bad in the live chat, because I am using this, but I still have my microphone. So I want to know if you guys prefer this or the microphone. I kind of like this, though. It's a lot easier on me, and I'm able to really kind of move around a lot more. Brent says all good. Let's see. America is doing well. 23 trillion national debt, the highest ever, triple mix. Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and talk about our debt all day, but China has debt. Every country has debt. Crespo says safe haven asset. Very good. Brent says perfect. Prakar says good. Prakar, did you hit me up on Discord? You won this book, brother. Send me a message there and I'll get your information. We'll send you out the Intelligent Investor here. And we may give out another book. We'll see. If you guys know, we'll do it on every single stream. I want to get back to a 3-day a week schedule with you guys. And so for those of you that haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe out here. Multi says really good sound quality. Awesome. Anthony says, nice to have your mouth away from the big microphone. Awesome, guys. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. I hope I gave you guys some insight on why, because we haven't been posting as many signals over the last few days, just because we're at a point where we really want to be cautious. And so, just give it a couple more days, maybe a week or so, and I think we'll find an ultimatum here. This is really the level that we're watching. And so that $10,000 mark, it's exactly at $10,000.15. If we break past that, then we have officially broken the previous trend that bottomed out at the exact level we bottomed out here, and that would make me assume that we continue up. And so, we have to find out whether that's going to break or not. Maybe if we were to sit here and assume shorts are possibilities, I'd be very careful shorting Bitcoin right now. Even, in our signal group, yeah, we post shorts, and we do very well with the shorts, but, this is coming from me personally. Just always be careful with shorts when we're in an uptrend, because remember, the overall trend does matter a lot. So it's a lot easier to go with the trend because the trend is your friend. And so understand that shorting is very risky. Realize this: when you're shorting, you have unlimited downside, but when you go long, you only have 100% downside. So always remember that when you're shorting, we don't know, price can go up as much as it wants to. Matter of fact, like, what if you start shorting Bitcoin and then, you look at our chart here and we, I've got this chart showing a $140,000 target. And for you to sit here and say it's not accurate, guess what? 7,500 is when we posted this long, and right before that we were short. And so, we were short at 9,100, and guess what? We literally, if you look at the target here, look at this target. We literally hit that target and bounced up. So I made both of these charts, and so, this was the second chart I made when I went long at 7,500. That's when we posted our swing trade for all of our Signal members. For those of you in our premium chat, for those of you that are not, the link is in the description, tradersprofitclub.com. We've got ETF signals, stock signals, Forex signals, crypto signals, BitMEX signals. We have, I think, 11 analysts right now. I'm trying to get another analyst so we can have a dozen, and I can start saying we've got a dozen analysts, but we've got almost a dozen analysts posting on a daily basis. And the way that works is we have all of the trades filtered out with other analysts, and that's why we're able to get results. But we posted that long at 7,500, and you can see so far we've done very well, but we still need some final confirmations. That first confirmation is going to be above 10,000, and then the second confirmation is going to be above 14,000, and then above 14,000, I'm going to sit here and tell you that 140,000 is definitely a possibility, but that's why you don't want to short an uptrend, right? There's unlimited downside when it comes to shorting, but when it comes to going long, the worst that can happen is it goes to zero, right? So that's 100% downside risk. So understand shorting is very, very dangerous in comparison to going long, especially when we're in an uptrend. And so currently sitting at 9,900, we're really not moving right now. You can see we're really, that resistance is really kind of holding us there. And so we're going to wait and see what happens. When we look at shorter time frames, let's see who are in control right now, bears or bulls, right? That's the big question here. You can see we're seeing some bearish volume, come in. It's really a fight right now. I mean, You can see just as much buy volume, there's also sell volume. You can see even when we see larger sell volume here, we're seeing buy volume that just doesn't necessarily match the sell volume, but it's still a good fight. And so, it's just really a matter of waiting and seeing right now on the side whether or not that 10,000 breaks. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot more volume trigger, or preferably we consolidate and we see more altcoins, perform, as we can see here with some of these like Litecoin to Bitcoin. And let's pull up a Ripple here. We haven't looked at Ripple. If we look at Ripple on a weekly, we've got quite a ways to go to hit that 50-week moving average, right around that 4,052 Satoshi level, currently around that 2,800 Satoshi level. When we pull up the daily chart, you can see here on the daily chart, oh, interesting. You can see we found resistance at these moving averages. A lot of the other coins like Ethereum weren't seeing that. Ethereum went right through all of its moving averages. So I'd be a little bit more bearish on Ripple right now in comparison to an altcoin like Ethereum. So you just got to be careful right now. I think more of the altcoins that are gaining traction are the infrastructure coins like ADA, Cardano, and Ethereum versus coins like Ripple, which are intermediaries for payment processors, right? So I think people are realizing a little bit more of the fundamental value. You can see here, beautiful golden cross. Look at that. Oh man, we got a nice golden cross here, 50-week pushing right back, right past that 50-day pushing past the 200-day moving average. So Cardano's looking really, really good here. You can see we didn't even hit that resistance yet. So that cup has not yet formed. We've got a beautiful cup and handle potentially forming here as well. So we form that cup here. We see that resistance. We see a pullback, and then we can even break further up. So Cardano is looking really good. And when it comes to fundamentals, like I said, we look at Google Trends, Cardano up 133%. So Cardano does not look bad right now when it comes to altcoins. But just realize, it could be a short-lived bull run for altcoins before we see continuation. Maybe what's happening is we're waiting to see what gold is going to do. And in the meantime, the whales are saying, well, why don't we give altcoins a little bit of some limelight as we allow gold to do its consolidation and do its thing? Because I guarantee you this, I'll tell you this right now. There's one thing I'll tell you. If gold breaks its all-time high here at over 1925, I think Bitcoin will certainly push past 20,000 US dollars. I mean, it's almost as if the whales are literally copying everything that gold has. It's not just the mantra of Bitcoin being the digital version of gold and the storage of value. It's almost like they're copying it in every way. And I say that because you can see initial bull run, all-time high, a little bit of a bear market, back into a bull run, now continuing up. You look at Bitcoin and the US dollar, same exact thing, right? We saw that huge trend up, right? The digital version, whoop, back down, back up. Now we're kind of seeing a little bit more volatility with this, and I think it should have a lot more volatility because it's a lot newer, and investors just aren't as confident as they are with a traditional asset like gold. So ADA looking really good, Ethereum looking quite well, altcoins in general looking well, Bitcoin looking amazing, but I think when it comes to opportunities in the market in the short term, maybe Bitcoin is better to kind of sideline right now until we get confirmation, and then from there we continue to trade it and find the next possible entry at a pullback potentially. And so Scotty says, you've been gone a long time, bro. I am back in business, brother. I'm telling you, I got into an accident recently, and that was 7 months ago. But there were, almost I'd say 6 surgeries that I had to go through for that. Completely out of the way. I got my LaCroix back, and I got the new studio set up here, and so content's back in business. But I've been in the Discord on a daily basis, as you guys know, and so definitely not leaving you guys behind. Matter of fact, we've done very well over the last few months. And me personally, just my personal trading portfolios, you guys, if you guys follow me on Instagram at Naeem, Naeem, I post my gains almost on a daily basis when I'm on my story. And we're doing $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a day in profits, and that's just personal accounts. And so, and our members are thriving as well. And so you can even follow Traders Profit Club on Instagram, see some of our member testimonials there. So we've done very well when it comes to trading the market, following the market. We called the bottom. We called the top of the recent trend, and at this point, what I'll say is, we want to kind of sit on the side and ensure that we're a bit more patient to understand that we need one more confirmation here, which is the fact that we're not just going to copy this trend in that bear market and continue to see downside. I think if we do copy this trend, which is a very high chance that we see the resistance here, because I mean, we bottomed here at the exact level that we bottomed here. There's no other place. Check this out on this chart. There's no other place that copied the bottom that we had recently in December of 2019, but this area here. And so this is where we're watching. If you're not watching this, then you're blind right now in the market, because this is where we bottomed out. And when we look at market structure, which is one of the most important things in a market, you have to understand that this was where we saw resistance. And so are we going to see the exact market structure? No, but will we possibly see resistance? Yes. And that's because of what happened here. But who knows? It's really about confirmation. The point is we got our entries below the $7,000 level, and that's what really mattered to me in order for our group to prosper and for our 25,000 people on our Discord, or the thousands of premium members to at least have that opportunity to get in to their long-term positions. And I was very clear, especially when we broke the $8,000 level, that it was the good area to invest for the long-term positions. And so now you're able to set those stops at break even or a little bit above break even at profits. And if we continue up and we go past 14,000, guess what? You got one of the best positions that most people probably didn't get. But if we do see continued downside and your stop hits and profits, well, now we'll have another re-entry, and we'll make sure to update you guys on that. And so Tyrell says, what's your opinion on Matic? I haven't done much fundamental analysis on Matic, but if we can look at the technicals, which I definitely wouldn't mind, I know Adam and Matic have been in the news and the headlines. Yeah, I would not be trading something like that. Not with that type of candle. Very, 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 very manipulated candle, very low volume. I don't like what I see here with Matic on the technical chart. Just to be quite frank with you, it looks like a lot of manipulation. You can pull up Adam, a little bit of a different scenario here, but look, we broke that support. So yeah, I wouldn't be focused on these smaller altcoins. You can see we're fighting in these moving averages. We want to see something like this. Cardano is probably the best looking altcoin that I see right now. When it comes to the technicals and even the fundamentals. We're seeing a lot of headlines right now for Cardano. I know a lot of projects that are being built on Cardano. I know a lot of projects leaving EOS for Cardano. I'd be interested to see what's EOS looking like in comparison to Cardano, right? EOS not looking too bad. Yet to actually did see its golden cross. EOS actually not looking bad at all. Look, recent golden cross, those moving averages. So EOS and ADA, it's these infrastructure projects, and it's funny because what did I tell you guys a year, 2 years ago about the altcoins that may survive? It was the infrastructure projects. Now we're not going to sit here and say this is altcoins surviving when we're still at these all-time lows in comparison of you being here at Cardano at 610 satoshis when it was at one point let's say 9,000 satoshis. So I'm not going to sit here and say think about that, guys. 9,000 satoshis, and now we're at 600, less than 1,000. So we can't sit here and say it's a bull market, but obviously we're doing quite well. Bitcoin dominance is seeing some sell-off and high sell pressure, and it looks like we're since a lot of people, like I said earlier, lost money in the altcoin markets, maybe the whales and what Brock Pierce told me is coming true, which is they're being a lot more lenient and graceful during this time, and allowing some altcoins to see some upside. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? Say yes or no in the chat, and then we're going to wrap up this live stream, and I will be back. Content will be resumed. The office is officially set up. The surgeries are done, and I'm more focused than ever in this market, and our Traders Profit Club is thriving. Finally got all of our analysts on very, very stringent systems, and so things have been very accurate and consistent, and so things are just kind of all coming together now, little by little, and it's exciting. So let's see here. Will says agreed. Alexander says facts. AKA 50 says Bitcoin is dead, man. How about BNB, Malik? Great question, Malik. Thank you for asking. Let's pull up BNB. Binance Coin, not looking too bad. Yet to see a golden cross. However, I wouldn't say that that's not going to happen. Actually, matter of fact, this was a trend line that we drew out before it pushed back up, and you can see it followed that support trend line. it's not looking too bad. I'd say we got to give it a little bit more time here. I think the Binance coin in general, um, it's not bad, long term hold, knowing that Binance is the major player in the crypto market. But, you just got to be careful because at the end of the day, Binance thrives off of a lot of these altcoins, and altcoins in general are uncertain, and especially altcoins that aren't infrastructure projects. And Binance is not an infrastructure project. Um, so infrastructure projects are projects that Apple and Microsoft can eventually go and build off of. And so we're looking at those type of projects more than anything. And so, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. Megamind says Tezos, Triple Mix says Stratus. Thank you all for tuning into the live stream once again. We gave away 2 books already, so we'll give away another one in our next one. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Razzie, Prokhar, Anthony, Brent, Josef, Frances. Appreciate each and every one. If you want a shout out, put your say something in the chat. Nathan V60. Good to see a lot of our premium members here. But thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to wrap this baby up. Bitcoin, once again, 10,000 is that ultimatum. Let's wait and see. Altcoins looking quite well, so expect more crypto signals. For those of you, by the way, that are in the US trading our signals, Kraken is probably the best US regulated altcoin exchange right now. You've got Binance US as well. And then I'm not going to sit here and advocate a VPN, but there's other ways of getting onto other platforms that some people utilize. But once again, Kraken for the US regulated altcoin exchanges if you guys want to take advantage of those. For those of you just trading Bitcoin, swing trading, not day trading, be careful when it comes to Bitcoin right now. Let's wait and see what the continuation is going to look like. When it comes to BitMEX signals, be careful with shorts. And then obviously, other than that, you guys are free in the clear. Things are looking good. Stock market's doing very well, so expect amazing stock signals. There was one signal that I posted for ABBV. It was one of the medical manufacturers, medicine manufacturers for the coronavirus that they're using right now to actually heal some of these people as the vaccine gets created. And so we posted a signal for that, and I think that went up like 15% the next day, or that week or something. So stocks have been very well. So when it comes to trading, we're seeing a thriving market in every aspect as always. And so let's continue that. Moja says, thank you, Naeem. Megamind 101 puts a thumbs up. Moja says, nice seeing you. Nice seeing you guys. Makes me happy to be back on here with you guys. Edwin says, appreciate you and the TPC team, Naeem. Have a good one, brother. Thank you, brother. Crespo, thank you, brother. Thank you all. And with that being said, I'm going to head out, meet with my buddy here. If you have any questions that you want me to ask him, I think he was managing about 30 million in his fund. He still is. He is shutting it down though. And it was a Bitcoin only fund. I'd love to take some of those questions and bring it towards him and maybe posting that on the Discord. So maybe tag me on Discord or something and let me know what questions you'd like me to ask him, and I'd love to get more insight for you guys. But overall, the fund managers that I've seen, they just haven't necessarily been the most positive as of recently. I just haven't, I haven't gotten good news from them, and I'm not going to sit here and make up news. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So, we want to see positivity overall in every aspect. And so when it comes to institutions, especially, you can consider them institutions in certain ways. I mean, 30 million is quite substantial in this market, so I'd say that it's important to understand their perspectives. And so other than that, thank you all so much. And with that being said, I'll see you guys here soon. See you all in the Discord. Take care.